Well, hi everybody, welcome to Afterburner. I'm Bill Whittle. Well, good news, the fiscal cliff has been averted. And when I say averted, needless to say, I don't mean solved or fixed or taken care of or repaired or prevented or addressed or managed or any of the kind of words you might use if you had a crisis staring you in the face. That's because the fiscal cliff isn't a crisis. It's a catastrophe, of course, that goes without saying in the age of incompetence, but it's not a crisis, it's kabuki. It's a stylized ritual performance where people wear the appropriate masks of villain and hero and go through elaborate, highly symbolic motions to achieve pretty much the same conclusion every time. That's what the most powerful government in the history of the world has become. Kabuki theater, ignored by the unwashed, uncouth masses, but appreciated by the genuine connoisseurs of the art, namely the breathless press, the pundits, and the Poles out in the audience. No one else gives a damn. Actually, you know something? I take that back. Calling this goat rodeo kabuki is really kind of unfair. It's unfair to kabuki. Kabuki has rules. Kabuki has structure. Kabuki is beautiful to watch. Kabuki is an honorable and ancient tradition. What we see in Washington is none of these things. So what is it? Well, there's only one golden rule in this era of incompetence, and it's the key to the entire kingdom. It's what allows all of this to happen, up to and including the utter plunder, the total and complete ransacking and looting of the greatest treasure trove in human history. And the golden rule in the age of Obama is simply, there are no rules. You know, in my charming, adorable, childlike naivete, I used to wonder just why Harry Reid and his democratically controlled Senate hasn't passed a budget for almost 4 years now. Isn't that their job? Do they not have a constitutional obligation to pass a budget? They shot down their own president's budget, 99-0 or 100-0 or something like that, but why have they simply violated their oaths of office and simply refused to do the most basic, workmanlike part of their job and simply pass a damn budget for almost 4 years now? Then it occurred to me, if you don't have a budget, then you can't be over budget, can you? If there's no limit on what you can spend, then you can spend anything you want. If there's no metric that way for the magnitude of the theft, you see? So in place of a budget proposed by an elected leader and reviewed by other elected leaders on behalf of the people, we get fiscal cliffs and debt ceilings and kicking the can down a road whose lines converge at infinity through things like continuing resolutions. It's avoiding the consent of the people, which these traitors, liars, thieves, and incompetents have nothing but contempt for in the first place. It's the rule of lawlessness. Now, meanwhile, in the White House, we have a plethora of executive orders, the scope of which would simply make your blood run cold. President Obama has quietly signed into law emergency powers that you would not believe if you read them and understood them fully. Who gets to declare an emergency or what the emergency is? Take a guess. Did we agree to these emergency powers by having our elected representatives sign off on them and give them the force of law? Oh, you dear, sweet, precious child. No. Now, these are edicts. They're proclamations. It's ruled by decree. They grant unlimited authority and provide the legal groundwork for the utter destruction of all of our rights, both collectively and individually, for as long as he may deem fit and for whatever reasons he chooses to invoke. Now, you can make the case that in the event of dire circumstances, and I mean catastrophic rivers of blood and rains of frogs kind of things, that the president might need that kind of power under rigidly defined conditions and for a predetermined length of time. But even if that were true, then he should have had to make that case to the people through the Congress, and rather than depending on executive orders, he can get laws legally passed by the people's representatives who can then be held accountable. So, fast and furious with hundreds of dead Mexican civilians? There won't be any consequences for that. These people are above the law. Same for Benghazi, same for Solyndra, and all the rest. Same for the millions of dollars simply stolen from the bondholders at GM when this president, with a swipe of his pen, stole their hard-earned money and handed the company over to the union cronies that got him elected in the first place. They wrote the law, and they're above the law. Hey, good news though, for every heinous crime that these nobles dismissively wave their lace hankies at, thousands of new laws, thousands, are written every single day. For an absolute moral certainty, you are in violation of scores of laws as you sit watching this at this very moment. That's part of the plan too, you know. While the marquis and the baronettes inside the beltway steal and plunder with impunity, the rest of us proles get burdened with more and more laws and regulations so that we're all criminals all the time. And then we get to the end game. How do you escape from this web of regulation and restraint and free yourself from the crimes that you're committing right now without even knowing about it? How, in the most evil term of an evil age, do you become in compliance? Well, who do you know? Good. Get out that checkbook, because that's the Chicago way.